February 9th, 1945. For the pilots of the RAF's Dalachi Strike Wing, the math was supposed to be simple. They had a 10-minute flight from the Norwegian coast to the target, the heavily armed German destroyer Z-33. The German fighter base at Herdla was 70 miles away. Even if the Luftwaffe scrambled their interceptors, the exact second the British crossed the coast, it would take the German fighters 15 minutes to reach the fjord. 15 minutes for the Germans, 10 minutes for the British. That gave the Bristol Beaufighter crews exactly 5 minutes to sweep into the fjord, unleash a storm of rockets and cannons on the destroyer, and escape back out to the open ocean before the enemy fighters even saw them. It was a textbook hit and run, a calculated, mathematically safe mission. But war doesn't care about math. And on this day, a single unpredicted variable, a change in location of just a few miles, would collapse that 5-minute safety window and trigger the worst strike-wing massacre of the entire Second World War. This is the story of the original Black Friday, the day the math failed, and a routine strike turned into a slaughter in the ice. By early 1945, the German war machine was choking. Their only reliable supply line was the treacherous shipping lane running down the jagged coastline of Norway. To sever this artery, the RAF deployed their ultimate ship killers, the Bristol Beaufighter. The Beaufighter wasn't a graceful dogfighter, it was a flying sledgehammer. Armed with 4 20mm cannons, 6 machine guns, and 8 armor-piercing rockets, it was designed to skim the waves at 300 miles per hour and literally blow ships out of the water. At 10:30 a.m., Norwegian scouts spotted the Z-33 destroyer hiding near the entrance of Focke-Wulf. This was a high-value target. Within 3 hours, a massive force of 31 Beaufighters, escorted by 10 P-51 Mustangs, launched from the freezing coast of Scotland. The plan drawn up by Wing Commander Colin Milson was elegant. Cross the coast, turn north, slip into the fjord from the inland side, attack the ship, and blast straight out to the open sea. But while the Beaufighters were flying over the North Sea, the captain of the Z-33 did something that altered the timeline of history. Sensing that he had been spotted, the German captain moved his destroyer. He didn't flee into the open ocean. He moved the Z-33 deeper into the narrow, steep-walled fjord, pressing the ship tightly against a massive vertical cliff face. To make matters worse, the Germans used their deck guns to shatter the coastal ice, allowing the ship to tuck itself into a virtually unassailable corner. When Commander Milson led his 31 Beaufighters into the fjord, he looked to his left, expecting to see the ship in the open water. It wasn't there. Suddenly, a wall of anti-aircraft fire erupted from directly underneath them. The Z-33 and its escort flak ships were sitting in the center of the fjord. Milson realized immediately that his attack plan was dead. Because the destroyer was backed against a sheer cliff, a direct run from the east was impossible. The planes would pull up from the attack and smash right into the rock wall. Milson had to make a split-second decision. He ordered the massive formation of 31 bombers to fly past the ships, swing around to the west, and attack from the opposite direction. It was the only logical tactical choice. But in making that wide, sweeping turn inside the claustrophobic walls of the fjord, Milson spent his most valuable currency: time. He spent his 5-minute safety margin as the Beaufighters finally turned 180 degrees to commence their attack run. The sky above them tore open. Exactly 15 minutes had passed since the British crossed the coast, and right on time, 12 Focke-Wulf 19s of the Luftwaffe's Jagdgeschwader 5 dived out of the low cloud base directly on top of the British formation. They were led by seasoned aces like Rudy Linz, a predator with 70 confirmed victories. The Beaufighters were caught in the ultimate kill box. Below them was a storm of heavy flak from the Z-33 and the escort ships. Above them were 12 of the deadliest fighter planes ever built, diving at 400 miles per hour. And around them were the sheer, inescapable rock walls of the Norwegian fjord. What followed was less a battle and more a desperate, chaotic brawl. The Beaufighters ignored the fighters dropping on their heads and pressed the attack on the ships. Rockets streaked across the freezing water, tearing into the German vessels. But as they pulled up, the Focke-Wulfs tore through their formation. A Beaufighter is a heavily armored beast. But against the four 20mm cannons of AFW-190 striking from above, it was defenseless. Within the space of just 10 minutes, the sky was filled with burning aircraft plunging into the icy water or smashing into the snowy cliffs. The Canadian 404 Squadron was decimated, losing 6 Beaufighters and 11 men. The Australian 455 Squadron lost 2 aircraft. The Mustang escorts threw themselves into the meat grinder to protect the bombers, engaging in brutal, twisting dogfights just hundreds of feet above the water. In the chaos, the Mustangs managed to shoot down 4 Focke-Wulf 190s, including the German ace Rudi Linz, who was killed when his plane slammed into the earth. By the time the surviving Beaufighters managed to break out over the open ocean, the cost of that 5-minute delay was staggering. 10 Beaufighters and 1 Mustang had been destroyed. 14 Allied airmen were dead, and 4 more were taken prisoner. It was the darkest day in the history of the RAF strike wings. At the very rear of the formation, rookies Stan Butler and Bernard Nickel were the last to attack. Their Beaufighter was riddled with flak. As they turned to run, a FW-190 locked onto their tail, chasing them out of the fjord. By sheer luck, they lost the German in the clouds, but their plane was bleeding hydraulic fluid. When they reached Scotland, they had no landing gear and no flaps. Stan Butler slammed the belly of the bomber into the dirt, standing on the useless brake pedals purely out of terror as the plane dug a massive trench in the runway. When they climbed out, they found a 2-foot hole blown straight through their tail elevator and an unexploded shell lodged just inches beneath the pilot's feet. They had survived Black Friday by a matter of millimeters. 50 years later, in 1995, Stan and Nick traveled back to Norway for a memorial. There, they met Heinz Orlowski, one of the German FW-190 pilots who had hunted them that day. Orlowski had been shot down by a Mustang and survived by bailing out into a snowdrift. Despite not speaking a word of each other's language, the 3 old men sat in a bar and used their hands to reenact the terrifying, twisting dogfights of 1945. They had been trying to murder each other in a freezing fjord half a century ago, and now they were buying each other drinks. The story of Black Friday is a warning about the math of war. You can plan the perfect mission. You can calculate the exact speed, distance, and time required to survive. But war is an environment of supreme chaos. The captain of the Z-33 didn't know he was setting a trap. He just wanted to hide his ship. But by moving his vessel tight against a cliff, he forced the British to turn. He forced them to spend 5 minutes. And in the brutal arithmetic of 1945, 5 minutes was exactly what it took to turn an empty sky into a graveyard. If the story of the 5-minute trap changed how you look at the air war of World War II, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that the gritty, unpolished history of these crews deserves to be remembered. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the archives. What do you think, was Wing Commander Milson right to press the attack? Or should he have aborted the mission when he saw the ship had moved? Let us know in the comments below.